London breathe. This was the message campaigners had for Mayor Boris Johnson as they brought Euston Road to a complete standstill in central London this week. The protest was an effort to raise awareness over London's poor air quality, which for months has been exceeding EU regulations.
London's facing massive fines by the EU for its air pollution, and if we don't do something about it, it's going to become an even bigger problem, especially with the Olympics next year.
Everyone's affected by air pollution. I think it's an incredibly important thing to get to grips with.
Well, London air quality is amongst the worst in Europe. 4,300 Londoners are dying each year just because of the poor quality that we're breathing every day. But because it's an invisible threat, it's not something that we encounter every single day, even though we are actually breathing the air every day. We see it as not, but politicians don't see it as a problem.
Such a serious issue, and it's possibly the most urgent issue in London at the moment, and only the Mayor can fix it.
The Mayor's office claimed huge progress is being made, with measurements at 2 of London's pollution hotspots having been reduced by 20%. But some question whether these measures are sufficient.
So at the moment, there's a great preoccupation about the fact that we exceed in London our concentrations of NO2. And there are many schemes which are being rolled out which are attempting to drive that down through the use of technology. But are they going to really have an effect? I don't really think so.
So what is the extent of the problem? A report published last year on the medical effects of air pollution estimated that the UK as a whole experienced 340,000 years of lost life. This means that on average, life is being shortened by approximately 6 months for every man, woman and child. The same report also estimated that air pollution cost the UK economy £16 billion each year. To put this in context, the current obesity epidemic in the UK costs us just £10 billion. It's been known for decades that minute airborne particles have an impact on our respiratory systems, but it's only with scientists' more recent understanding of nano-sized particles that the true impact on health is beginning to be understood.
Everybody walking around in a city is exposed every single day to relatively high numbers of nanoparticles as they walk by the side of a road. Now the concern about these very, very fine particles is that unlike the coarser particles which can be trapped in the very upper airways, these have the capacity, because of their diameter and the way they move through the lung, to deposit very peripherally. There's even some literature which would suggest that they can actually penetrate across the lung into the circulation and therefore may be driving some of the cardiovascular effects. And maybe even more interestingly, there's evidence that nanoparticles, if they deposit in your nose, can actually be taken up via the olfactory nerve and transited into the brain.
While some consider this an invisible public health crisis, others prefer to think of it as simply another risk factor. Just as long-term exposure to sunlight or smoking causes the premature aging of the skin, in a sense, long-term exposure to air pollution causes the premature aging of the cardiovascular system and the lungs. It seems the only effective way of combating this additional health risk is to drastically reduce the number of vehicles on the roads, and this is a solution which few people are likely to welcome.